Hey, hello students. So in this video we are going to cover MEG-14 Block 1 Unit 3 Theories of Translation. This unit introduces the key theoretical approaches to translation. It explains how translation is not just a word-for-word task but a complex cultural and creative act that involves interruptions, context, and purpose. Number 1. Literal versus free translation. Literal translation tries to stick closely to the structure and wording of the original, often leads to awkward or unnatural sentences, useful in legal, religious, or technical context where accuracy matters, but it may miss the emotional or cultural meaning. For example, translating "Loha garam hai, maar do hathoda" as "iron is hot, hit it with a hammer" is literal but sounds odd in English. Free translation, sense for sense, focuses on meaning and message, not exact word. Prioritize naturalness in a target language widely used in literature, media, and poetry. For example, the same Hindi proverb above could be freely translated as strike while the iron is hot, a culturally appropriate English equivalent. Number 2. Eugene Nida's theory of equivalence. Linguist Eugene Nida proposed two types of equivalence. Formal equivalence tries to preserve the form of content of the source language, focuses on accuracy, ideal for religious texts, laws, technical instruction. Dynamic equivalence focuses on the effect on the reader. The translation should have the same emotional and intellectual impact as the original. Ideal for literature, speeches, and storytelling. For example, in Bible translation instead of literary translation and idiom, dynamic equivalence ensures it makes sense in the new language. Number 3. Functional theories of translation. These theories ask, what is the purpose of translation? The Skopos Theory by Hans Vermeer is important here. Scope, purpose in the Greek word. Scopes mean the purpose in the Greek. Translation decisions should be based on the function or goal of the text in the target culture. For example, a brochure of tourists might simplify historical facts. A literary essay would maintain complex style and details. Number 4. Cultural and postcolonial theories. Translation is also a political and cultural act. Cultural translation. Translation must preserve cultural identity, often applied in folk tales, tribal literature. Dalit writing focuses on terms, customs, and voices that should not be standardized and westernized. Post-colonial perspective. Translation during colonial times was used to control and civilize the colonized. Now translation is used to reclaim indigenous voices. Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak argues translation must respect the politics of the text, especially when dealing with marginalized voices like Dalits, women, and terribles. Number 5. Feminist approaches to translation. Feminist theories see translation as a creative and interpretive process. They emphasize the importance of gender voice and power dynamics in the act of translation. Encourages visibility of the translator role, no longer an invisible bridge but an active participant in shaping meaning. In the conclusion, theory, focus, and best for literal word-for-word legal religious texts, free sense of sense, poetry stories, formal equivalence, form and accuracy, spiritual or legal translation. Dynamic equivalence, reader experience, general literature. Function, purposes of translation, tourism, education, and fiction in the best. Cultural, postcolonial, power, identity, politics, folk, tribal literature, feminist, voice and visibility, women's writing, marginal voice in the best for. So it's like literal, focuses on word for word, and best for legal religious texts. You can read it like this. This unit helps us understand that translation is not just a language skill, it's also an art, science, and act of cultural justice. So easy explanation is here. So we are going to cover the explanation from here. This is a very important unit for IGNOU MA English 2025 preparation, and I'll explain everything in simple and clear language. What is the unit about? This unit talks about how translation is not just changing words one language to another. It's about carrying meaning, emotions, culture, and purpose from the original into a new language. It's both a skill and a creative act. Literal versus free translation. There are two common types, literal and free translation. Literal translation means going word for word, staying close to the original structure. This is useful for legal or technical content, but it can sound unnatural in literature. For example, translating a Hindi saying like "Loha garam hai, maar dunga hathoda" directly might give you "iron is hot, hit it with a hammer," which sounds odd in English. Free translation, on the other hand, focuses on meaning rather than exact word. It aims to sound natural in the new language. The same Hindi saying would be translated as "strike while the iron is hot." That's a culturally meaning version. Eugene Nida's theory of equivalence. Eugene Nida introduces two important concepts: formal equivalence and dynamic equivalence. Formal equivalence means staying as close as possible to the original wording and grammar. It useful in religious texts, legal documents, and instructions manuals. Dynamic equivalence focuses on how the translation affects the reader. It's about creating the same emotional and intellectual response as the original, even if the words are different. This is the best or literature or speeches. Functional approaches. Skopos theory. Next is the Skopos theory from Hans Vermeer. The word scopes means purpose. This theory says translation should depend on why the text is being translated and who will read it. For example, a tourist brochure and a scholarly article about the same places will be translated differently because their purpose and different. One is informative and light and other formal and detailed. Cultural and postcolonial theories. Translation is also deeply connected with culture and politics. In postcolonial translation, we learned that during colonization, translation was often used to control or change the local voice, but now it's a way to preserve and promote native voices like Dalit, tribal, and religious literature. Cultural translation focuses on keeping cultural references, traditions, and values intact. The aim is not to simplify or westernize the original text, but to help the new audience understand the unique background. Gayatri Spivak, a key voice in this area, says that translators must respect the politics and emotional depth of the original, especially when translating works from marginalized communities. Feminist approaches to translation. Feminist translation theories highlight the translator's role in shaping the meaning. They focus on gender, power, and voice. Feminist translators often make intentional choices to highlight women's perspective and to keep the emotional and cultural tone of the original intact. They believe that translation is not neutral, it's creative and political. In the conclusion, so translation is not just about a language, it's about purpose, culture, identity, and emotion. Whether you are translating a legal text, a folk tale, or a poem, different theories will guide your choice. In your IGNOU MEG-14 exam, you may be asked to explain these theories, compare them, or apply them to examples. If this helped you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments which unit you would like me to cover next. Big thanks to you. Thanks for watching till here. Let me know in the comments on which topic you need the next video. Thank you. Bye bye. Jai Hind.